But what's important to recognize is that the model I'm about to show you here will absolutely, I don't even know if it's not overstating. It will actually change your life professionally and personally. And I can say that with a lot of confidence because I believe in it, I practice it, and I know millions of other people that have as well. So let's talk about it in a bit more detail. It's the self-coaching model, and the advantage of this model is that it is actually just based on universal truths. It's not based on, theory or academics or anything like that. It is actually a universal truth, and as we go through the model, you'll really see what I mean by that. And I first saw the model from an individual podcast that I listened to. Brooke Castillo is her name, and she talks a lot about the self-coaching model. And I came across the model again with one of my mentors, Colin Boyd. And so I started to really deep dive more into this and recognize that it is absolutely foundational. And just like many other people have said, it's a universal truth. And if you can, again, kind of realize that and as we walk through, it will make a lot of sense for you. So the model starts with circumstances, and we'll get into a bit more detail around what that is, but essentially circumstances are just that, circumstances. They are neither good nor bad. It's just data. It's just a fact. And so I think somebody has said before, I've seen the saying about, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And that is really, really important because when we talk about the circumstances in this case, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about facts. So then we progress down, and now you have thoughts associated with those circumstances. And don't worry, we'll get into a bit more detail here. So you have a circumstance, and then you have an associated thought or thoughts with it. Those thoughts generate feelings. Okay, so you have a circumstance, so a fact triggers a thought about the circumstance or circumstance is. And then from those thoughts are feelings now. And then from our feelings, this emotional side, we take action. So we have actions now associated with the feelings or emotions. And that gives us our result. Okay, so circumstances, thoughts, then feelings, actions, and results. Okay, I can't overstate how important this is. And we'll be walking into, as I said, a lot more detail as we go through. So let's kind of deep dive into it a little bit more. And this is kind of part 2 of it, where we get into a little more explanation around it. So we have the circumstances. And the circumstances are neutral. That is so important. It just is, right? It is what it is. And one of the things that I've said time and time and time again is navigate from where you are, not from where you wish you were. Because we spend so much time coulda, woulda, shoulda, and suffering, frankly, lies between what we expect or think is right and what is reality, right? It's this right here is the suffering. That's why life sucks sometimes in our interpretation. And that's why we feel so bad and miserable a lot of times, because we grapple with this, well, it shouldn't be this way, or I wish that. Well, it is what it is. Navigate from where you are, not from where you wish you were. So circumstances are neutral. That's it. And that is such a foundational element of the model. So we don't attach any meaning to it at all yet. So then we get into the thoughts, which is that next part of the circumstances. So now we have a thought. Typically, it's a single sentence like, this happened, well, that sucks, or I hate that, or, that's going to be painful, whatever that is. So it's not a long kind of, paragraph by any stretch, but you have a circumstance, which is a fact. And then you have some thoughts associated with that, typically a single sentence. And then from the thought becomes a feeling attached to that thought. And so really, really important to see how this is starting to stack up and how they're all interrelated. So then once we have our feelings and then there's an emotion attached to it, we take actions associated with those feelings. So if you're feeling sad, okay, and we'll talk actually about what words to use even, but if you're feeling sad, you'll cry, you'll mope around, you'll be miserable, whatever that is, right? So the circumstance, there's a thought or thoughts around that. There's a feeling or feelings associated with it, like in the emotional side. And then the feelings drive your actions. And then, lo and behold, Now you have results. And guess what? It all starts on the circumstances and the thought part. See how it just cascades? Now that's both good and it's bad. So think about it. If your initial thought is bad, and I'll use quotes because again, we'll dive into that a bit more, then that will drive your feelings drive your actions, and your results speak for themselves. They're a result of the actions. That's the negative, but we can actually use this power